war. We also have a lot of enemies abroad. And I want a DNI that actually knows what he is doing. I do actually prefer experts. And I thought this administration didn't like DEI hires, but this guy seems like he might be one.
Nice. This isn't about intelligence, right? It is about elections. It's about dirt. Bill Pulte has already proved that he will abuse the power that he had in that Federal Financial Housing Association.
Trump appointed a man with zero intelligence or national security experience to lead all 18 U.S. intelligence agencies. His justification? The man is smart and might find something about rigged elections. The law requires extensive national security experience. Trump's response? He probably won't want the job permanently anyway. Welcome to the debate, Chaz. Today, we break down what this appointment is actually about. It has nothing to do with national security. Let's get into it.
Tonight, Donald Trump says that his controversial pick for the Director of National Intelligence is only temporary, but that any concerns about his pick's qualifications are overblown. Earlier this week, Trump announced that Bill Pulte, who has never served in an intelligence, defense, or even national security role, would be taking up the mantle for the outgoing DNI, Tulsi Gabbard. Appearing before to justify the appointment while tempering expectations, Trump suggested that Pulte doesn't really want the job in the long term.
He's not going to be permanent because, I don't think he'd want to be permanent. But he's a very smart guy, and he may find out some things about the rigged elections, et cetera, et cetera. I think he'd like to do it. I think he wants to do it very much. Got a lot of energy.
In your view, Mr. President, the necessary national security experience to take on that position?
Well, I do, and I think he does, actually, because he's smart. Because a lot of national security, I wasn't greatly experienced in national security, and I think I've done a really great job with it. Bill is a guy that will be able to figure it out very quickly. Again, it's short term, but he may be very effective for a short period of time.
Pulte currently leads the Federal Housing Finance Agency, and in that role, he's pressed for investigations into Trump's political enemies. That has obviously pleased the president, but now it looks like apparently he's turning the DNI office into an election investigation office. Why?
No offense, but you guys take the bait every time. I mean, I've worked for Donald Trump. Half the stuff he says is because he knows you're going to run it on TV and focus on that instead of what he doesn't want you to focus on, which is the fact that right now we have a war with Iran that isn't going well. But if he says he's going to go investigate the rigged elections, he knows you're going to run the clip, and you just did it. So let's talk about what's really important.
Let me understand. Are you suggesting that he doesn't believe what he just said?
Oh, Donald Trump believes everything that he says, but I'm saying you took the bait.
Well, it's only bait if it's not true. That's the first question. Does he believe what he said? Do you think he does?
I have no reason to believe Donald Trump doesn't believe that.
My next question is, even if he doesn't believe that Bill Pulte is going to do what he said he wants him to do you think that there's really a justification for naming him as Director of National Intelligence?
Absolutely. I think it's a fantastic choice.
Why?
And you want to know how I know it's a fantastic choice? Because Mike Pence is hyperventilating about it. Let's talk about the not an expert thing. First of all, we don't need any more experts. Under the Biden administration, you had Alexander Mayorkas, who ran the border. What an epic failure that was. And he came out and said it himself. He was an expert in Homeland Security. How'd that go? An admission of his own failure. Bill Pulte
he had actually had experience. I mean, look,
he had experience, but he failed. He said it himself.
You
He
can
came
say
out
that
years later saying he failed.
did a bad job, but he actually worked at the high levels.
But in his own words, he said
the
he
Department of
failed.
Homeland Security prior to having that job. So what are Bill Pulte's qualifications for being Director of National Intelligence?
The DNI rule. This is where I think the president's instincts are kicking in. I like that he's making a change. He knows that this war isn't going very well, and he's making changes. And one of them has been that the DNI role has been sidelined under the current trajectory of the war, right? Despite the fact that the 18 U.S. intelligence agencies that serve under the DNI have all concluded that Iran never had a nuclear weapon and never wanted to make one. I hope that I don't know if the president ever fully trusted Gabbard in the way that I think he trusts Pulte. Pulte has known the president outside of his time.
Let's start with who Bill Pai actually is. Because the gap between what this job requires and what he brings to it is not a matter of interpretation. The Director of National Intelligence oversees all 18 United States intelligence agencies. It is one of the most consequential national security positions in the federal government. Federal law, the statute governing the DNI role, explicitly states that the person appointed must have extensive experience in intelligence, defense, or national security. Bill Pai's background is the Federal Housing Finance Agency, where his primary documented achievement was pressing for investigations into Trump's political enemies. That is the resume. That is the qualification being offered for the top intelligence position in the country. Trump's defense of the appointment revealed more than he intended. When asked whether Pai has the necessary national security experience, Trump said, "I wasn't greatly experienced in national security, and I think I've done a really great job with it." That is not a defense of Pai. That is a confession about how this administration views expertise, as an obstacle rather than a requirement.
I don't understand what you're
It's a good choice
saying.
for the trajectory
I don't
of the war.
understand. I don't understand what you're saying. It seems to be illogical. It doesn't make any sense to me. But I'll tell you this: the
Do
one.
you need me to slow it down?
I need
No,
you,
I need it to make
I need
sense.
you, exactly. I need you to
'Cause
read the
no, make
law.
it make
The
sense.
one reason why he's not qualified is because the law says he's not qualified. The law says the DNI must be a person with military experience, intelligence experience, or some sort of national security experience. He has none of that.
The
Everybody
law
serves at the pleasure of the
uses the
president.
word extensive. I can't think of a lot of jobs in the government that have an actual qualification that's listed in the statute, and it qualifies it by saying they must have extensive experience. But I don't want us to lose sight of the election piece of this,
Yeah, I'll take the
because
bait.
that's incredibly important.
Yeah.
It's not as if Trump, this isn't bait. Here's how we know it's not bait. Tulsi Gabbard, when she was the DNI, she testified to the House and the Senate. My presence in Florida at this raid of the Atlanta Fulton County election office, my presence was requested by the president and executed under my broad statutory authority to coordinate, integrate, and analyze intelligence related to election security, including counterintelligence. So he sends her down there on a raid to grab ballots.
Yeah.
In Georgia.
The logic is circular. Trump thinks he did a good job without experience. Therefore, experience is not necessary. Therefore, anyone he trusts can do any job. The law disagrees. The law requires extensive experience. That word, extensive, is in the statute. It is not a suggestion. It is a qualification. Pai does not meet it. The conservative panelists attempted to reframe Trump's comments about using the DNI to investigate rigged elections as media bait, a deliberate distraction designed to pull coverage away from the Iran situation. The legal analyst on the panel refused that framing with a piece of evidence that should have ended the argument. Tulsi Gabbard, while serving as DNI, testified under oath that she personally traveled to Georgia at the president's request to participate in a raid on the Fulton County election office. She described it as executed under her broad statutory authority related to election security. That is the previous DNI, the one being replaced, admitting on the record that she used the intelligence apparatus to pursue Trump's election grievances. And Gabbard was the DNI who concluded, with the backing of the intelligence community, that Iran was not seeking a nuclear weapon. She was correct. Trump went to war anyway, and now she is being replaced by a loyalist with no credentials. The pattern assembled by the panelists deserves to be stated as a single sequence, because individually each piece can be explained away, but together they form something that a reasonable person cannot dismiss. Trump called Georgia officials trying to find votes. When that failed, January 6th happened. The people who stormed the Capitol were pardoned. A fund was created to financially compensate them. The previous DNI was used to raid an election office at the president's request. The new DNI is being installed with Trump himself, saying he wants the person to look into rigged elections. And there are midterm elections approaching that could shift the balance of congressional power. The legal analyst said it plainly. 12 jurors looking at that fact pattern would find it difficult to reach any conclusion other than that the DNI position is being weaponized for election interference. The irony that the political analyst named deserves its moment. This is an administration that built a substantial political movement around attacking DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, on the explicit grounds that it produces unqualified people in roles they did not earn through merit. And here is the same administration appointing a man with no intelligence experience, no defense background, and no national security credentials to lead the entire United States intelligence apparatus. If the DEI critique was ever genuinely about merit, this appointment would be impossible to defend on those terms. It is not being defended on those terms. It is being defended on the terms of loyalty, which is precisely what the DEI critics claim to oppose. The contradiction does not require extensive unpacking. It simply requires honesty.
And I think we just can't look at these things in isolation. We know Donald Trump called Georgia to try and find votes. It didn't work. We know January 6th happened because they didn't believe I don't know what he believed, actually, or not, but we know that some people did not believe he had actually lost the election and he stormed the Capitol. We know then when he got back, he actually pardoned those people who stormed the Capitol trying to overturn the election. We also know he just did a slush fund for those individuals to get basically reparations for trying to overthrow our election. And now he is appointing a DNI to take the bait, take the not debate, whatever. His former DNI went down to try and steal ballots. This new DNI is going to be in place to try and find whatever this rigged election he's talking about. And guess what? We are having elections in this country right now, and we have a midterm election that could actually take away some of Donald Trump's power right now. So when I, again, look at that fact pattern, a jury probably of 12 of my peers would say that Donald Trump is actually attempting to interfere in the election again. And that is a problem for the DNI. Not to mention, we are at war. We also have a lot of enemies abroad. And I want a DNI that actually knows what he is doing. I do actually prefer experts. And I thought this administration didn't like DEI hires, but this guy seems like he might be one.
Nice. This isn't about intelligence, right? It is about elections. It's about dirt. Bill Pulte has already proved that he will abuse the power that he had in that Federal Financial Housing Association in order to get confidential information on prominent people so that he could pursue bogus mortgage cases, violating the law to hand over this information to members of Congress and others. What do you think Trump wants to do with him? His consuming passion is to destroy his enemies. And now he's got the director of national intelligence with the keys to the kingdom about every single secret every single person has, plus elections. And he says he doesn't have to do it for a long time. No, he just has to burglarize the place, hand it over to Trump, and give it to somebody else.
The Director of National Intelligence has access to every secret the United States government holds about every person, foreign and domestic. It is a position of extraordinary power over information, the kind of information that can destroy careers, expose vulnerabilities, and be used against political opponents with devastating effectiveness. Bill Pai has already demonstrated, in his previous role, a willingness to abuse the authority he holds to pursue the president's political enemies. And Trump is now giving him the keys to the kingdom, the entire intelligence apparatus of the most powerful government on earth, with an explicit statement that he wants the position used to investigate election results. The law says Pai is not qualified. The administration does not appear to care what the law says, and the position is temporary, which means just long enough to do whatever needs to be done before a permanent replacement arrives. Press play. Watch the sequence. Watch the pardons, the slush fund, the Georgia raid, the replacement of Gabbard, the installation of Pai, the comments about rigged elections, and the approaching midterms. You do not need anyone's opinion on what this adds up to. You just need to be willing to see it. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe this appointment is about national security or something else entirely? And what should Congress do when a nominee clearly fails to meet the statutory requirements for a position? Subscribe to the debate, Chaz. We will keep following this appointment wherever it leads.